Hello, my name is Randy Miller, and this is HTML5 for noobs. I put together this course because I had a hard time when I first started trying to find everything that I needed to know about HTML5, programming, and web development in general. So I decided I put together this little course to kind of help other people understand it as well without having to search around to all these different places. I also believe in learning through visuals, writing, and audibility. So this way, you can actually learn by listening to what I have to say, visually see it on the screen, and then I put together some exercises after this course that you can watch and actually do what I'm talking about. A few things about myself: I'm an application developer. I also used to be a Microsoft student partner. You can find me on Twitter at Randy2Cool. And you can also find me on YouTube, where you're probably seeing this video, youtube.com/techrandy. The exercise videos and the follow-up lectures will also be on this. This is the first of the series, probably be a long series, so buckle up and enjoy the ride. You can also do hashtag TechIT, and I'll respond to anything on there. Hopefully some other people from the community. I have some friends that said that they would help out with these answering of questions and helping the newbies out. So if you do a hashtag TechIT with any questions, then hopefully you'll get an answer pretty quickly. Alright, for section 1, we're going to talk about the tools. Also, just to mention before we continue, if you ask a question, make sure to include the section. That way we know where you're at in the process, so that we know whether you've hit on certain topics or not. So section 1.1 is about tools. I use Sublime Text. You can use anything from Notepad, or if you're kind of terminal savvy, you can use Nano. There's plenty of other things out there like Notepad++. I don't know what Mac users use because I don't own a Mac. I only use Linux distros and Windows. So if you are using a Mac, I'm sure there's plenty of information on the web on what kind of IDEs out there are the best for you. But a simple text editor is fine for this. You don't need anything fancy, anything like NetBeans. I prefer Sublime Text just because it highlights my colors for me. Web browser, you can use Firefox, i.e. 9 or above, and Chrome. Firefox and Chrome both do updating constantly, so you're pretty much not going to be behind on those. So you should have any of the elements that I talk about. There might be some tweaks and stuff, but we'll also go over those if I catch them. i.e. 9 is pretty much you have to use 9 or 10 to run any of this stuff. Anything below that, you will get some funky results. And you'll need a web developer tool. This is included in all of those web browsers, so you don't have to go hunting down one. You might want to search later on to see if there's one that you prefer over the others. I do prefer Firebug within Firefox or Chrome's web developer tool. So those are really nice. You can use those. You can see what's going on. Later on, there will be a actual tutorial on how to use those tools and what they're good for. Just to set up, we're not going to do anything with this lecture, but you might as well go ahead and make the actual folder on your computer. And it will be easier for you later on if you name it the same as me. I just named it YouTube Project, but if you want to name it something else, feel free. I don't know if there'll actually be anything that will break this later if you don't use the same name. There shouldn't be, but there might be a case. So watch some of the exercise videos also. This is where you'll actually do the hands-on projects. Okay, and section 1.2, we're going to talk a little bit about the basic structure. This is primarily just going to be the very, very high overview of what is actually needed for the browser to interpret your HTML5 page. Here's a little bit of my contact information again on there for a second, just so if you need to write that down. Okay, and section 1.2.1, we're going to go over some of this basic structure. So every HTML document needs to contain a doc type, a head element with a title, and a body element. These are the simplest, this is the simplest form of an HTML5 that page that you could possibly get. We'll go over all these in a little bit more detail. So the HTML5 doc type is very simple to use, unlike some of the older doc types, which were quite long. I could never remember them. I had to copy and paste them every single time. This one is very easy to remember. It's just an open is less than, exclamation point, doc type, HTML, and greater than. So basically, this is very simple. It's case insensitive, so you can do it all lowercase, uppercase, however you feel like. I prefer doc type uppercase, just so I know it's kind of in my face. This is the doc type, don't touch this. And you also want to include the language so that the browser will know what language to actually interpret this as. This is very good for when sometimes there are pages that are in a different language, and some browsers will actually try to interpret this for you. And also this will modify some of the keyboard elements too. The head title is where you will include the following tags: title, meta, link, and script. So the head tag is pretty much the most important part of your page. This tells the browser what to do with your elements and what to do with the page. This is also a very important section for your SEO content, which is search engine optimization. This is basically what ranks you on Google and makes you come up in, or any search engine, not just Google, but any search engine, and makes you come up under certain searches. So the body element, it holds all of the page data. This is the visual elements on the page that you will see, like images, links, paragraphs, breaks, headers. All of the visual elements will be placed into the HTML tag. Into the body tag. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the head tags. The title tag, which is the first element that you should put in your page after having your basic structure copied and pasted or typed out. Your title tag is very important because this is the what tells the browser the title of your your pages. So this will be placed within the browser title bar or tab for most of the paid browsers out there. So as you can see in this, I put page title here, and it showed up over in the Chrome tab right at the top. Meta tags are primarily used for search engine optimization and to make web pages a little bit more semantic. So meta tags are what we call void elements. That means that they have an opening, but they should not have a closing. Most tags have the less than, the name of the element, and then the greater than at the end of all your attributes, then followed up by a less than, slash, meta, greater than. So this way, it knows that this is where the element begins, this is where the element ends. Meta tags are different though. They don't have actual closings because they close themselves. So you can either use just the meta or the meta slash, and not doing the opening and closing elements. Let's see. So the tags use different parameters, which are your attributes. An attribute is pretty much your predefined parameter. This is usually determined by W3C. Some might be specific to different applications. Google has a few. I'm sure there are some for the browsers also. Then there's a value, which is a user-defined string, which is what you want to put in there. So there's, for this tag, we have meta, and funny enough, this name of this name is name. Then the value is description. So we're saying this is the meta for the description. And the content is actually the content for that description. So my page description is the description for this page. Then, so a description is a quick description of the page used by search engines. An author is the application developer's name that made the page. So usually this is going to be you if you are actually making the page. This is mainly just to tell the search engines, or tell somebody who's just being nosy and wants to know who made that web page. They can look into the source code and see that it was me that made it. Then the application name. This is the name of the web application that the page is part of. So usually a web application is going to have multiple pages, and each page will have a different name, but the actual application itself will have one name that everything's housed under. This is where you will put that name for that main application. Then there's the generator. This is the software that is used to generate the page. Some people use automatic page generators, and it pretty much spits out a template, and you would post the generator's name in there so that other people will know what generated that page, and so that you can look back later and know how you built that page. So keywords, which is pretty much the most important meta tag to most people. These are the relevant keywords or phrases that are used by search engines. So when Google comes to your page, it crawls it. So it goes through each line, checks it, looks for different parts, and this is one of the first things it's going to look for. It's going to look for your keywords. So you're going to want to put some keywords in there that you want your page to come up in whenever it's searched for on Google. You want to keep these very relevant to your page, because Google's not going to like it very much if you're putting that this page has to do with cupcakes when it actually has to do with apple pie. So you want to keep that content section very relevant for the page that they're on. And then there's the char set. This is the application's character set being used, which is, I believe, all the time UTF-8 for HTML5. I am not 100% on that one, but there might be an instance, but it should always be UTF-8. This is pretty much a universal character set. Then there is the robots meta tag. This is used by search engines to determine if special things should happen, such as if you don't want Yahoo to index this page because you want to keep it private to yourself and to your family or for work, you just put no index into this robots meta tag. If you don't want them to follow any of the links within this page, you put no follow. And if you don't want a summary snippet to be drawn that is within the page for that search result, then put no snippet. You can also put none, which is the same as doing no index, no follow. So when Yahoo searches the page, it's going to say, okay, well, I don't want to index this. They don't want it seen by public. And then they also don't want any of the links on this page to be seen by the public. So we're not going to crawl any of those links from this page. Now, there are ways for Yahoo to actually index those pages that you link to in other ways. So it's not foolproof. You would have to go through each one of those pages and make sure they have no indexes. But if those pages do not belong to you, then you cannot stop Yahoo from searching them later on if those links land on somebody else's page. Just something to keep in mind. Google has their own specific meta tag that they use for crawling. This is for telling if the page should be translated or not. If you do not want this page to be translated, you put no translate. This tells Google that you have your own versions in different languages, so let the user use the different translated page. Most of the time you're not going to want this in there. This is something to add in if you have a multilingual site that you have created different scenarios for each language in, and you don't want Google to guess with their translator what you're trying to say. Then there's the style tag. This is to insert CSS into the page. This will be in a later section, so we'll go over it later in more depth because it is probably a few sections in itself. But the style tags will hold all of your formatting for CSS. So this is like if you want to change font colors, change sections, move things around, you want to do anything like that, any kind of formatting stuff will go within this style tag, which there are other ways to go around this, and you'll probably want to use external pages, but for right now just keep in mind that there is a style tag. And then there's the script tag, which we'll also be going over later because it's enormous. This is for inserting JavaScript into the page. So if you want to do any kind of manipulation after the page is actually drawn up and loaded by the browser, this is where you would insert it. JavaScript is a great language for manipulating the page and doing different things like popping up alerts or changing colors depending on different actions that the user takes. So in this lecture, you learned all about the meta tags and went over some of the more important ones. There are a few more out there if you want to do some scouring over the web to find those. I found that these are the only ones that I use. I don't even use all of these all the time. I just use a couple of them. You might want to look up later some of the others, but I'm pretty sure that you're not going to use any of the other ones most of the time, and you definitely won't be using them in this course. So check out the exercise video to see what kind of exercises are going on and get your hands a little bit dirty. All right, and we'll talk to you later. Thank you. Bye.